Good morning. This is Miss Ray, and I'm going to be sharing with you today a video on how to shade a sphere. Our very first skill that we learned was a value scale. Remember, a value scale is every shade of gray from dark to light. And as you're practicing your value scale, you want to make sure that you get a nice gradual transition. So if you get a kind of a line where you have it's too dark and then it gets too light, you just go back in and you do your medium. And remember, practice is going to help you improve at this. When you are practicing, try to find something specific to try to improve. If you've got little tornadoes or whatever, remember we can put in our bars and then ask ourselves to go back and fix what we've done, rather than just Xing it out and starting a new one. That's that persistence that we're trying to learn. And in the understanding that if you've been working on a drawing for 2 weeks and you mess something up, you've got to be able to fix it. You can't start over at that point. So for our sphere, again, we're about imperfect progress. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to, you just want to make sure that it's going to be spherical. Okay, so a sphere can be a rock, can be an egg. Potatoes are okay. I'm okay with potatoes, I guess. But your main focus is that it's circular. With our 3D, we learned we have width, how wide something is. We have height, how tall something is. And then we have depth. When we learn to draw a cube, you're drawing in the depth. Same thing with cylinders and cones and pyramids. With a sphere, the only way that we can add the depth is by shading. Okay, so we have to use this skill that we worked through in a new way. So your circle you're going to have to work in a contour line. So when you're contouring something, you're going with the outline of it. So as we start to shade here, our goal is to have the light source coming from the front. Sometimes you have a light source like a sun shining and you're going to have a highlight and a shadow cast. But a lot of times in a drawing, you just have a general need to create the illusion of space and not necessarily worrying so much about a light source. So when we do that, we want to put the light in the center, and then to show that the walls of the circle, ball, basketball, marble, whatever it is, are curving away from us, we're going to use our shading, okay? So that's the 3D. So you're going to start with a medium, because you can always make it darker, but it's hard to make it lighter. Once you've done your contour line, then you can kind of flatten out. It's going to be easier and faster to shade a value scale that way. So you're going to get as light as you can get in the center. Notice I didn't go all the way across the circle because that's going to flatten it out. You're going to have to take the time to come from the edge, do your contour line, and you can flatten out. Notice how I'm overlapping over what I did before. When you overlap, that's going to help it blend so that it doesn't look like you have kind of a box inside of a circle. Okay, so you can rotate your paper if you need to. Going through the whole value scale, getting lighter and lighter as I get towards the center. I can rotate my paper. Start with my contour just in a medium value. We don't want to go as dark as we can go. Getting lighter as I go towards the center. And remember, we've talked about imperfect progress. The first one of these that you do isn't going to be perfect. It's a learning process. You're skill building right now. And you have to accept that this is part of the learning process. You're going to mess things up. But having these videos is nice. You can watch it as many times as you need to. Okay, so now some of you may be saying, well, that still doesn't look 3D to me. Okay, being able to comprehend three-dimensionality in drawings when you're working with the illusion of 3D is a process. It's a developmental process. Your brain will get it if you keep working at it. Just like with the cube and understanding that this angle that we put in is showing that like this is closest to you, this part is farthest away, this is the depth. And we can't draw the depth into our sphere, we have to shade it. So contrast is going to be your friend with this. Contrast, remember, is the differences in the element. So differences in our color or our value is dark and light. So now that I've established a little bit of shadow, I'm going to go in and I'm going to increase the contrast. If this is the bottom of my sphere and this is where it's sitting on the ground or on the table or whatever, that's going to be my darker part. Okay, it's going to get lighter as it comes up to the center. So as I increase that contrast, it's going to become more and more apparent that it's three-dimensional. Okay, so if you're starting to see it a little bit more, that's great. If you're not, we're going to keep going. Some of you have seen in other videos and artists, and even I do it sometimes, taking your finger and smoothing this. Okay, that's going to help it look a little bit softer, a little bit better blended. Again, it's kind of a cheat because what I want you to do is I want you to get good at controlling the pressure of your pencil, because that's going to be what allows you to become a better artist and to improve. This is a good finishing technique. It's a good part of the process. But I really want you to try to get better without that. You can also use your eraser and kind of come in and lift out. That eraser is not going to work. It's going to smear it. You can kind of lift out a little bit if it gets too dark in the center. But again, you want to kind of try to learn how your goal, your ultimate goal, should be to be able to do all of this by controlling the pressure on the pencil. Okay. So practice a few of those. Remember, as you're practicing, the first one isn't going to be perfect. The second one isn't going to be perfect. The third one isn't going to be perfect. But by your second one, you should be able to say, oh, I'm getting little pizza slices in my sphere, so I need to overlap more. And being aware of what your problem is and thinking through, okay, now how do I fix that, is what helps you improve. Repeating the same thing over and over again and having it be the same, that kind of practice isn't going to help you improve. You have to reflect on what you are doing, what you're seeing, and then try to improve on the things that you need to improve on, and that will help you to get better. Again, there's lots of other artists out there who have videos like this online. You don't have to stick with just mine, and there are multiple ways to teach it. Every art teacher kind of has their own style of how to teach these things. So don't be afraid to look up other resources. Have fun with your sphere.